Advaita's main tool is observation. Same as in science. That's why Advaita appeals to people that are more scientific minded, because science is obviously based on observation. No observation, no science. Supposedly. We're seeing a different science lately, but that's a different story. I'm not going to go there. So Advaita uses observation to look not in the external world as science, but to look in our world within the organism. And when we do this, when we begin to do this seriously, we find inside the organism different objects. And psychology has done already a good work at naming these objects. So obviously these names that we have in psychology to refer to the objects that we begin to find within are very helpful in our quest for looking within, and through that realizing what we're really. Because that's the purpose of the search within, is to find out what am I really, or what is this I that I talk about and think about and dream about and plan for. What is this I, this me, this self? That's the purpose of the observation process, to find out. But way before we find out such thing, the answer to that particular question, we find objects within, and that finding is valuable. So what do we find? We find what could be called mental objects, and they can be catalogued in a group of 5. So in other words, there would be only 5 mental objects. And what is these 5 mental objects? Well, I have referred to them before, but let's take the time to review that. If you begin to look within, sooner or later you will find emotions. So that's one of them. Emotions are part of the human experience, are present in the mind-body organism, whether we like it or not. Some emotions are positive, some are negative, right? And I have a video about the value of working with our emotions to reprogram the mind-body organism. You can find it in the channel. Now you keep looking within, you will find sooner or later this voice here in the head, which is thoughts, constant thinking that quite often we imagine that we are that voice. But by the very fact that you are looking at that voice, becomes evident that it is an object in front, so it cannot be you. But there are thoughts. That voice is there. If you keep looking, you will find motivations. And motivations are our goals, our desires, our instincts, our addictions, bad habits, and so on. Is what moves us in life. Our needs, of course, what moves us. The word motivation comes from movement. If motivations are not present whatsoever, you're completely depressed. You don't want to move a finger, you would be catatonic. Then if you keep looking, you will find beliefs. Beliefs are also ideas, same as the thoughts here in the head are ideas that are being ruminated. In the beliefs are ideas, but they are more silent, and they are kind of an operating system in the mind, and that operating system controls to a great degree your experience, the experience of the mind-body organism. Changing our beliefs is not so easy. It can be done, but it requires a deeper work. Although our negative emotions can lead us to change our beliefs. And then, if you keep looking, you will find that in the human experience there are sensations. And there are 5, of course. Smell, taste, touch, visual sensations, and hearing sensations. When you have discovered these 5 mental objects in the human experience, in the organism, you have discovered all the objects that are there. There are no more objects. Look by yourself, try to find a 6th one, and you won't find any. So we could say that these 5 mental objects are kind of dancing. One is creating another, and another is creating another, and so on. They're all connected. And that dance, we could say it's the mind. The mind per se doesn't exist, it's a definition. You see, you say, my mind. Well, you're referring to this dance. But the mental objects are more real in that sense, more concrete. And then if you keep looking, you will find that there is also a perceiving of all these mental objects. It's obvious. Obviously, it's the case because you discover all that through your own looking within. So there is a looking, there is a perceiving. There is an observing, or we call it observation usually. There is observation within. That perceiving is different than the mental objects. Because as the mental objects are dualistic, they have form and they are coming and going. On the other hand, this perceiving is constant. It's non-dual. It's not positive or negative. And it has no form. So the nature of this perceiving is very different than the nature of any mental object. And of course, it makes sense. The dance is in front and the perceiving is what is looking, is the looking of the dance. And that is the human experience. There is nothing else you will find there. 5 mental objects dancing and a perceiving that is constant. That perceiving, we can also call it a consciousnessing, another word for consciousness. There is a consciousness looking at the dance. I repeat, there is consciousness looking at the dance. And that's it. There is nothing else. And then we can ask ourselves, well, I initiated this looking within, looking for what am I really, right? But I haven't found any I. Yes, you can find thoughts about I. You can find even feelings about I. But where is that little self, that I? You look within forever if you want and never find it. And what is the implication of this? Well, the implication of this is that you don't exist. Not in the way you thought, as a little self separated from the universe and so on, called so and so. So this insight, when you come to really get this, that yes, okay, so Gian is not here, it's called awakening. It can be quite shocking when you realize that. Oh, so I'm not here. Wow, that's crazy. At least it was in my case, right? It was, wow, how much time I have devoted to this I, decorating it with degrees and protecting it from others. And it's not even here, it's not even real. It's imagination here. So it's quite shocking. Yeah. If you come to that point that you see this clearly, it's shocking. And it has consequences, psychological consequences, no doubt about it. It can begin to trigger deep changes in your psyche. That's why it's called awakening, for a reason. It's not a small insights. There are many insights that we can get in our introspective journey. Many insights. We're constantly having little insights. But this is not a little insight. This is a huge insight. One of the consequences is that you don't take yourself so seriously for the rest of your life. You keep a weary eye about this I, right? So now we can look at Christianity and understand a little bit more of the Christian teachings. How, in a way, Christianity is telling us similar things. Let's see. The Christian teachings talk about God. God is the central theme in Christianity. God and your relationship with God. So what is this God that Christianity is talking about? The teachings tell us that God is within. And that is the key, right? Because then, if you use the Advaita method, you look within, but now asking, where is God? And you find God. You can find it. Contrary to the I, that you cannot find it. You were looking for I, you couldn't find it. But you find God. You found God. Yes, you found it. Because you found consciousness. This perceiving. This perceiving can be noticed. There is perceiving through the organism, and that can be noticed. And that is consciousness. And consciousness is non-dual, has no form, and is constant or eternal. And the Christian teachings tell us also that God is eternal. That is beyond time and space. Consciousness is beyond time and space. So you found God within. Through Advaita, right? And then you are proving to yourself or to your no self, proving that Christianity, the Christian teachings, are right. That God is within. So God is consciousness and is present in the mind-body organism as the perceiving of the environment, and of course is present also in that plant and in every animal and in every sentient being. And that consciousness, God, is undifferentiated. It's like the still water is undifferentiated. It can be in many different containers with different colors and shapes, but it's always the still water. So the same consciousness in that plant, in this body, and in every sentient being in the universe, consciousness is present. When consciousness withdraws from the organism dissolves, dies. So all these organisms are actually for the enjoyment of consciousness. Consciousness or God creates all these mind-body organisms to experience his or her creation through them, including this one, including yours, so to speak. God is experiencing. God is the experiencer. So now let's look at the methodology. Christianity talks about prayer, a very central subject. And another methodology is surrender. Let's start with surrender. Surrender is an easy one, which is present also in Advaita. In Advaita, you don't surrender to God, you surrender to what is. What is? In Christianity is divine will. Not one sparrow falls to the ground if it's not by the will of my Father. Everything that happens, small or big, in the universe is the will of God. So in Advaita, we don't go there, we just say surrender to what is. In Christianity, you say, I surrender to the will of God as thy will. Beautiful. Same thing. Where does surrender lead? Well, it can lead, complete surrender leads to complete liberation, no less. So the Christian teachings are true teachings. If you just make that fundamental method of Christianity the center of your life, the fundamental path to liberation, you will get there. So let's look at prayer. Prayer is a tricky one, right? Because in prayer, I am praying to God. I am asking something to the divine, to God. So let's see if this even makes sense from the Advaita perspective. What is this I that is praying? We know in Advaita that it is not there. That little self is not there. So it's unreal. It's an illusion. Has become through the years a very powerful illusion. But it's an illusion, nevertheless. So what Christianity does is that it uses that illusion in a practical way and says, okay, I have this illusion, I'm going to put it to good use. I'm going to teach that illusion to surrender first and to pray to the divine, to God, when it needs something because for whatever reason cannot surrender. So let's say the body gets really sick and the little self is scared, frustrated, and cannot really attain deep surrender. Well, there is always the possibility of praying for the body, for health. And this little self that is a fake then prays for health to the divine, which is consciousness. As simple as that. Something wrong? No, as long as we have things clear that that little self is an illusion, but the prayer still can happen. And it can produce mysteriously results and powerful results sometimes. And anyone that has prayed for some time knows that there are high-end type of prayers and low-end type of prayers. If you pray for liberation from all suffering, that's a very high-end type of prayer. If you pray for capacity to surrender, same thing. If you pray for a new car, nothing wrong with it, but it's a prayer of a lesser level. Prayer is powerful, yeah. So use it properly. Don't use it for stupid things. But at the same time, we don't need to be overly strict with the little self. Sometimes you can pray for something that is more concrete, like a new car, because your old car is too old and it's giving you many troubles. It's a valid prayer. But the real Christian mystics, as they progress in the path of surrender, they try to pray less and less and less, to come to a point where they trust so much the divine will, which is what is, that they don't pray. So there was a sage that used to say, please don't change my circumstances, change me. Change the mind-body organism. Reprogram the mind-body organism. So as you see, there is not any fundamental contradiction between the path of Christianity and the path of Advaita. In fact, Advaita brings great clarity. I would say Advaita, but awakening through Advaita brings great clarity about the Christian path. How it works, what is really fundamental and what is decoration. So in the fundamentals, there are no fundamental contradictions. Now, you may find in the Bible things that perhaps were put there by people that were not really into helping, that are not true, maybe. But the fundamentals of Christianity, surrender and prayer, are right on. And why I have taken the time to explain all this? Well, because we are seeing nowadays in our world a revival of Christianity, and it's just the beginning. My impression is that this is gonna grow like wildfire. The interest in mystical Christianity, in deep Christian teachings, is skyrocketing, because Christianity has a lot to offer to the world, much more than what was there before, that is kind of fading out, which is relativism. Everything is relative, I do whatever I want. An ego-centered philosophy that is very damaging to life to the planet, to each other. So relativism is fading out, Christianity is fading in at high speed. And that relativism was also connected to dark religions in this planet and dark teachings. And all that is fading out. So now we are seeing the rise of Christian values, Christian teachings. And it's beautiful. So those who are more awakened in this world, hopefully we will embrace this process and support it, because it's a very positive process. It's wonderful that this is happening. I know, you know, that many of you probably went through a period in your life that you said goodbye to your original church and you didn't want to hear about Christianity or religion, organized religion, and so on. But that is because you didn't understand Christianity. If you understand it, then and you use the fundamentals that I have explained, then the rest is decoration, and you just don't dwell too much on it. There are other good things in Christianity there, of course, but the fundamentals are the most important: surrender and prayer. If you remove this emotional component that at some point you wanted to break free from organized religion, and you really see through that emotional reactivity, then you can then you have peace with the Christian teachings and organized religion and so on. And that I don't mean that you have to go back to your church and participate in your church. Not necessarily, but keep a warm feeling. Keep respect for those who are moving towards liberation, awakening and liberation through organized religion, and eventually through the fundamentals of Christianity, they will arrive to the same place. So does Advaita shorten the path? I would say so. It helps. If you try to do this just through surrender and prayer, you will get there anyway. But the whole process of looking within, using observation and so on, helps a lot. So I hope this helps you to welcome this new trend. This beautiful change that we will see, we should see the revival of true Christianity. Take care.